Well, this is the latest Remnant Fly. Another small kind of nymph looking fly. I'm looking through the remnant materials, running across a few little grizzly hackles and pheasant hackles and things like this. Just got to thinking it would be nice to do a little nymph pattern. This is kind of nondescript hackle for a tail, dubbing body, a copper rib, wing case made out of turkey, and a little grizzly hen hackle for a collar. It's kind of wanting to go for like a soft hackle collar like you'd see on some small soft hackles. These are a little bit longer than but I think it would work. I mean, I know it would work for panfish, but I think that would also be a good trout fly. So that's the latest Remnant Fly, and I'll get busy tying. So I'm going to start this Remnant Fly with a hook and a vise. This is, I'm thinking it's a Mustad 3906B. Might be a 9671. A little bit longer nymph hook, but it is definitely a heavier wire, like a streamer hook or something. Streamer or nymph hook. I'm going to go ahead and debarb the hook. Hard to get these small hooks really clamped down in this vise. I'm going to attach my thread. It's a Danville 6/0 in black. This is just going to be a very, very simple little nymph pattern. I'm going to run my thread all the way down to the end of the shank. I'll tie in a tail. For the tail, I'm just going to use a few barbs off of this little tip of pheasant hackle. I only want maybe 3 or 4. Doesn't have to be real bushy. Just a small little nymph. I'm going to tie those in about a shank length long, maybe a little bit less. You know, these are just going to look like gills actually sticking out the back of our nymph, not necessarily like legs or a tail per se. The idea is to look more like gills. I'm going to back that off because I went down the bend just a little bit with that. It is moving to the outside of the hook on me. And these little hooks can be difficult with big fat fingers. They're old fingers. Okay, once again, that's split up. And get another there we go. Now I get that wrapped in. I'm also going to put one wrap right underneath under the base. That's going to help kind of keep that poking out. I'm going to tie in a rib. The rib on this is just going to be some copper wire. It's about a medium copper wire. Attach that rib in pretty much the length of the abdomen. Come on back. And I'm going to start applying some dubbing. Now for this, because it's just an indescript, it's an attractor. It's not necessarily to look, and I suppose you could tie this to look like something in the water, but I've got this is some old SST product from Targus. Now Targus is a company that went out of business a long time ago, but this is similar to a product called Trilobal. And it's long fibered stuff. It's not short and bushy. It's real long fibered. And that's fine because I'm going to just put a tapered body on here. So I'm going to get about a 3 or 4 inch dubbing noodle here. And I'm just wetting my fingers a little bit to get some traction on this stuff. I'm unwrapping so that I can get the beginning of that dubbing twisted on that a little bit better than it was. It's kind of had a bit of a gap in it. Okay. Now I'm just going to taper up an abdomen here to about 2/3 up the hook shank. About like this. Maybe a little more. Okay. Put in about 3 wraps of this wire. It's probably about a size 14, I think, hook. You're going to get about 4 in there. Wire gives it some segmentation as well as a little strength. Now I'm going to tie in the wing case. For the wing case, I have, these are some turkey slips that I cut out for some other project. And I want to get enough so I've got maybe 2/3, at least half, but 2/3 the gap of the hook. Wing cases usually, they can be pronounced. They can be very pronounced. I'm going to tie this in. There is a darker side and a bit of a lighter side, and I'm going to tie this in with the dark side down because that way, when I fold it over, I have the more prominent colors, not the dull colors that are on the wing case. Make certain that's right on top of the hook shank and wrap back all the way back to the dubbing here. Back to our dubbing. I'm probably fussing over that a little bit when I don't have to because I probably would even brush some of this out to make it look kind of shaggy. You could, of course, also put some wax on your fingers. That would give you some traction, and it would help this to maybe stick together a little bit more. Use a dubbing wax, not like a tying wax. Leave yourself some room right behind the eye of the hook because we're going to put just a little hackle in there. Yep. So maybe if you're going to tie this at home, folks, get yourself a little bit shorter material dubbing. This stuff is very long, maybe not the best for this type of application. So I'm going to end up right here, fold over my wing case. Cut the rest of that off. Now I'm going to use this tip of this, this is a Grizzly hen hackle. And I'm going to use this tip with just maybe 2 turns. All I want is something that's going to suggest some legs. Don't necessarily want it super long. I'm going to also smooth this area off a little bit. Get that back a little. I have enough to, I think, hold on. Actually, I get better control when I use my hackle pliers, I find. There's 1. 2. I think we're just going to go with that. Sweeping all that back, I'm going to wrap in right behind the eye of the hook to bind in the rest of that rachis and make the head of the fly. I can then pop that off. Put away my thread. So that gives you a nymph. That hackle might be a little bit long for that. So Hungarian partridge, kind of like a couple turns of like a soft hackle, was what I was going for. But I think that will work. So there's a nice little olive nymph for you. You know, I'm pretty certain you throw that around in some panfish waters, you'll get something. But I am also pretty certain that that'll catch trout. Fun little fly created out of leftover materials. That is the latest Remnant Fly. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vice today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.